Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Lost One podcast. Joining me today is Shoshima 1016.
Yo!
Because as we talked about, in case you missed it, last week was Samurai's last appearance as a regular host. At least for now.
Yes.
You know, doors open for him to come back, but...
he's been promoted to special guest.
Yes, he's been promoted to special guest, which means he'll get a higher rate of pay.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I missed out.
Yeah, sorry, you're locked in now, bud.
I've been bamboozled. I signed the contract and everything.
No, but in all seriousness, Samurai had some real life stuff he needs to take care of, and that's why moving forward he will be here occasionally when time permits, but it will just be myself and Shoshima, at least for the immediate future.
The next foreseeable future.
Also, hi Tanner, you decided to dig for treasure right when we hit live, huh?
He's digging a tunnel.
Yep, dig a tunnel. But Tanner says hi, everybody. If you hear that little scratching sound, that's my dog, my 135-pound Labrador Retriever, for those listening and not watching the video, digging at the carpet right behind us, which she's had all day to do and just decided to do as soon as we hit live.
Yeah,
so,
he watched. He knows.
Yeah, he knows. But anyway, today's topic is one that both of us are pretty big fans of.
Maybe. Kinda.
Actually, I take that back. I'm a huge fan of it. Shoshima's not.
Not
not
at
even
all.
slightly.
Nope.
Definitely not wearing a t-shirt for what we're talking about today.
Nope. I wore it because it matches the color of my beer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
It
the only
It was
reason.
just a coincidence, nothing else.
Uh-huh.
It's actually a gift from his wife. He doesn't even know what Dragon Ball is.
What is a dragon and his balls?
But no, if you haven't guessed, we're going to be talking about Dragon Ball Z today. And the reason why we picked Z versus literally any other iteration is because I haven't watched the original Dragon Ball all the way.
I've never watched the original Dragon Ball. I've read the entire manga series.
Yeah, see, and I've read the manga, but I haven't watched the original series.
Yeah.
I don't think the GT fan base is a small but vocal fan base. I thought GT was fine.
You know what, though? With the power of hindsight, they were right about Super Saiyan 4, I'm just saying.
I'm not disagreeing, and we can maybe talk about Super Saiyan 4 in a bit with, is it Heroes? Dragon Ball Heroes? They brought it back?
Yeah.
So, anyway, that kind of addresses the major canon problems between Super and GT in a way that as a comic book fan, I'm all for. So,
well, I think it's some non-canon multiverse madness, but yeah, we'll get there later this episode. Don't you worry, guys.
Yeah, it is, and you're right. It is non-canon multiverse stuff. But you know what? I think that explains the existence of GT just fine. So
yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Legally speaking, GT can take place after Super.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
But it just won't make a lot of sense with no mention of Beerus or Whis.
Yeah, no.
You know, the Omni
did
King
GT make sense the first go around? I'm just saying.
I mean, it kind of did, at least as far as Dragon Ball lore at the time. I'm not going to say it was great, but
yeah.
You know, it wasn't so off the rocker that it was oh man, none of this is canon when it was coming out.
No, for sure. I was mainly saying it for the lulz, but
yes.
Yeah,
Super and the movies now have just made GT, nothing in GT makes sense or matters. So, to me, this non-canon multiversal bullshit is the best way they could explain the explanation of GT while still keeping it canon.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. For me, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that as an explanation as a fan, and you know what? I'm not going to dive more into it than that. But
we should do a GT rewatch one day. It's been so long since I've watched a GT.
Okay, but if we do that, we have to make content out of it. The only way I'm going to rewatch GT is for content.
Let's go.
Okay, so we'll have to figure out a way.
Is it on Amazon? Can we do a watch along?
I don't think it is, but maybe. We'll see. We'll have to look into that. Anyway. So with that being said, Dragon Ball Z is a series that I think most would argue inspired the anime craze here in the United States.
Yeah, no, it brought anime to the West. I don't think there's a couple other shows that you could also say helped.
Sailor Moon is the biggest one that comes to mind.
I know Yu Yu Hakusho was bigger at the time.
Yu Yu Hakusho,
but
maybe Shaman King,
maybe,
and Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh, but Yu-Gi-Oh was, I feel, already after. I mean, Z was over by the time Yu-Gi-Oh started.
For sure, but I'm just saying, those would probably be the names that jump out to me as
Well, and then Pokemon, then, if we're going to go
and Pokemon,
You can't forget Pokemon.
Thank you, because you're right. The Pokemon anime was huge here in the United States.
Yeah, but, Z ended, Z ended in 96?
I think so, yeah.
And yeah, no, it was more or less like the mainstead that brought anime to the West and inspired the big three.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's so many Dragon Ball references in Naruto, in Bleach, and in One Piece. One Piece is a little less so.
Yeah.
I feel out of the three, One Piece is like the least blatant inspiration wise. But that's again another story. We should do a One Piece podcast at some point.
I need to watch One Piece, but I'm scared to watch One Piece. My body is not ready to watch One Piece.
Are you prepared for more filler than Inuyasha?
Oh my gosh. Inuyasha was mostly filler. Is One Piece mostly filler?
Well, the anime has a lot of it because of, well, let's just say the demand for the series. But there's a reason why the manga only has, I think, like 200 more chapters than the anime has episodes. Like, the anime has over 1,000 episodes. I think they're at like 1,067 or something like that.
Yeah.
And the manga's, I think, like in chapter like 1,200 or something like that. So.
Yeah, I feel One Piece also, like, as a product of its time, like, came out when filler was a thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, nowadays, filler's not that much of a thing in anime. Like,
no.
Surprisingly enough. Like, that's a whole separate, like, anime, like, culture difference between, like, anime when we grew up and anime now.
Yeah. We'll also have to talk more about, like, 4Kids and their impact, I think.
Suckers instead of smokes.
Or stop or we'll shoot you with our invisible guns.
Like,
and they're just pointing. Mr. Pegasus would like to have a few words with you.
Yeah.
God, so iconic.
I know.
So
right?
bad, but so iconic.
We were in the right demographic to, like, not give a fuck.
I mean, we are the Power Ranger generation, so yeah.
But yeah, so Dragon Ball.
So yeah, Dragon Ball, as we talked about, inspired. I think almost every like major shonen manga has some tie or some inspiration to Dragon Ball. It was it is a generational manga / anime. It is one that has inspired almost everything that comes before it. You know, I kind of equivalent to like what Star Wars and Star Trek did for sci-fi.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Only Dragon Ball did it for shonen manga and anime.
Yeah, Dragon Ball itself was inspired by Journey to the West.
Yes, that's also true.
You know, that's kind of where it took roots in its general storytelling.
Yeah, it's almost as if media usually like the next generation of media is inspired by what becomes before it.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like that's a recurring theme. Like Star Wars was, inspired by the Kurosawa films, for example. So it's all circular. It all circles back.
Time is a flat circle.
But yeah, so Dragon Ball though, this story, and we're not going to talk much about the original Dragon Ball series in this pod, but it is worth mentioning that the original Dragon Ball was a comedy.
Yeah.
It was a pure comedy that evolved into more of a martial arts thing as it got.
Like there was action in there to like, help break up like just the comedy.
Yeah, for sure.
But overall, I mean, even in some of the early action scenes, like it's Krillin. You don't have a nose. How can you smell this guy? And then Krillin realizes he's never had a nose drawn on him.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh yeah, and then just fucks the guy up.
Yeah. Or like Roshi always going like overboard was like a recurring thing in the early episodes of Dragon Ball where he like accidentally blew up the whole mountain when he was trying to put it out.
Yeah.
Because it was on fire. That's when they met Chi-Chi and the Ox King, I think.
Yep, and when Goku learned the Kamehameha.
Yeah. Which he did after watching it once.
Yep.
Takes over, 100 years to master the Kamehameha wave?
Like they made a whole big deal of it, and Goku's like, all right, fuck it. I got 2 hands. I can do this.
Pretty much. And then they're like, oh, let's just hand wave it by. No, he's Gohan's boy. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, seems legit. Later we find out he's an alien from another planet, but that's a whole separate aside.
And we are introduced to his brother. Who never comes up again afterwards.
No, they bring him up more in Dragon Ball Z Abridged than they ever do in the main series.
Absolutely. But yeah, so the original Dragon Ball was a comedy, and yes, it does progressively get like more and more action-y. The comedy elements really start to kind of fall off towards the end. They're still there.
Yeah,
but
they definitely wane like by the end of the series.
But like the threat of Demon King Piccolo, for example, was like it was very serious. Yeah. Like it was that entire arc was like crazy. I don't know how many people died in that arc, but I think it was like Chaozu dies and
Chaozu, Krillin,
and I think a whole bunch of civilians.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, like, I don't think Tien did, but yeah.
No, because he was able to get wished back after the Saiyan fight in Z. So, but yeah, and they obviously and a recurring theme which started in Dragon Ball that we will see even to this day in Super is that you're introduced to this really powerful character, like in the original Dragon Ball, it was Roshi. Was like he was the strongest man in the world.
Yep.
Right, world's strongest. Reference to a movie, by the way. And then they introduced like Korin, right?
Yeah.
Who had the water to increase strength like beyond what Roshi had.
And he was a god, I believe. Like
originally? He was like portrayed as one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then above him was Kami,
who was the god.
who was the god.
Yeah.
And then King Yama.
Yeah.
And then King Kai.
Uh-huh.
And then Frieza.
Huh. Well, technically, in like the actual like power scaling of the world, because we had King Kai.
Yeah.
Then there was Grand Kai, or no, it was Supreme Kai, and then it was a filler.
Yeah, it was
the
filler,
Grand Supreme
Supreme Kai
in that tournament arc with Pycon.
Yeah, but that was after Frieza though. So as far as power scaling, Frieza was more powerful.
Yeah.
And then you had Supreme Kai and Grand Supreme Kai, and then so on and so.
Oh yeah, as far as power, I just meant as far as like title.
Yeah, and then you have Beerus.
Yeah.
God of Destruction, and then you have Whis, and then you have the Omni King, and now there's 2 Omni Kings. So it's
and there's Whis and all the angels, and who knows how that structure is.
I included Whis. Whis is above the goddess of destruction.
No, that's what I'm saying. But like, there's all the angels, so I don't know how like.
Yeah, but
Beerus isn't even the strongest god of destruction.
No, he's not. But it's like there was the gods of destruction, which was Beerus, and then you had Whis, who's above him, and then you have the Omni King, which is above all of them.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 of them now.
Yep.
So. And it's just,
so nice, they wanted him twice.
Yeah, so on and so forth. And so that's like a recurring thing with Akira Toriyama, is that he basically is like, oh, you think you know all the gods. And oh, look, here's a god that's that god's god. Like, and so on and so forth.
They did the same progress in Supernatural.
Yeah. No, it's actually really, that's actually a really like typical thing in fantasy, is it's like, you have the big bad, and then it turns out that the big bad was just a puppet for this other big bad, and so on and so forth. Like, that's very common like fantasy
Even
trope.
Naruto kind of does it some, but not nearly to the degree Dragon Ball does. Naruto kind of does it more in a methodical, meticulous planning way.
Naruto that only really started happening in the end.
Yeah.
Where it was like, we're just going to keep introducing new characters that are like more and more powerful. Like at the end of the original run, and then Boruto, which does it like every fucking like arc.
I need to catch up on Boruto, but yes.
But like Dragon Ball did it first, for sure. And we see where that inspiration comes from. And of course, like again, we talked about, that's a pretty typical like fantasy trope. Like a lot of people don't know this, but Lord of the Rings, like Sauron, who's like the big bad of Lord of the Rings, he's not like the most powerful force in Middle Earth.
Really?
Like he was a servant.
Okay,
originally.
I'm not too hip on Lord of the Rings.
Well, a lot of people aren't, because they're not like huge nerds like me. But
I blame my little brother, it's his birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday!
Yep. He ruined the first Lord of the Rings film for us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it was already 2 to 3 hours.
I think the Fellowship of the Ring was like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, like 2.5, which back in the day that was a long ass movie. All right, I know 3-hour movies are like more standard nowadays.
Yeah, but this is like right after, like this is only to timestamp it, like Titanic was, I think, like the last movie in the United States that had a planned intermission, where like intermissions were planned to like pause the movie halfway through. This is only a couple years removed from the Titanic when Fellowship came out.
Yeah.
Like we're talking like the turn of this century. So
so I remember watching that, and like every few minutes my brother would either have to pee or go do something, like pause the movie, I don't want to miss it.
So it took
us like 4 hours, I swear.
It took a 2.5-hour movie and turned it into 4. Yeah, I could see that.
So anyway,
I recommend, seriously though, go back and give it another chance.
I know I need to, just every time I think about it, I just remember it being so long. But yes.
No, but it's, again, like, I recommend giving it a shot again. But if you don't like it, if you still don't like it the second time, then whatever.
Yeah,
but,
no, for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, it's Dragon Ball. That's like one knock it always gets, right? Is like, oh, hey, look, here's a god. Who's going to replace that god? Like in the next like chapter.
And then Goku's hair changes, and then he beats him up.
Pretty much, yeah. And they always create new forms too for.
A big trope that Dragon Ball, I feel, started comparatively.
Yeah.
Just newer forms.
We can really go into like the tropes of Dragon Ball. Should we start with that?
Sure.
So, like the newer forms was a big one. One-on-one fights, despite like being like the villains always being outnumbered.
Masses of people there to fuck up that villain.
Yeah. And it's like a great example for me is like in the Android Saga when Vegeta is a Super Saiyan, and Piccolo is a Super Namekian, and neither of them like interfere in each other's fight. But then again, neither do the androids in that particular fight. So it's like, I don't know, it's really weird, but it's like, you have like this opportunity to like tag team and like win fights, and no, it all has to be one-on-one, and like everyone else just stands and watches.
Which is also really funny too, like, because in the Dragon Ball video games, they always like to do team fights in the games, because they want you to be able to play all the characters. I'm like, motherfucker, have you watched the show?
Yeah.
It's one-on-one fights the whole goddamn time. What do you mean team fight?
Yeah, I think during our Team 4-Star pod, like, Samurai even brought up how in the Tournament of Power arc in Super, which is not Z, but, like, they're trying to, like, transform, and that's another trope, is waiting for the transformations to finish. Like, villains and good guys do it across the board. And the most notable one to me stands out is, like, Goku's Super Saiyan 3 transformation, where...
yeah, how's that not the most noticeable? Like,
yeah, well, it's just like... It's
that homeboy was literally screaming for what, like almost 5 minutes? Like literally, not even figuratively.
Pretty much, yeah. And it was like going back to like King Kai, like, oh no, you'll use up all your time on Earth and shit. Like, yeah, it's just... Anyway, but like, yeah, so we have standing by watching fights, we have transformations, watching other people transform.
Never starting the fight at full power.
Yeah, never starting the fight at full power.
You know, which I guess kind of plays into the transformation, but like still... Like, yeah, they never brought out their trump card right away and just fuck somebody up.
Sparing the most evil people on the planet. Frieza, Vegeta.
I'm surprised Cell didn't, like, stay alive somehow or get brought back. Yeah. Although they tried to bring him back.
Majin Buu even, with good Buu, like...
Yeah, and Oob.
Yeah, and Oob, and it's just like, oh, man. And that's not
They
even
referenced Oob in Super, too.
Yes, I know. I'm like, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
They actually did that.
Anyway.
But... Yeah, so those are just like a small handful of the tropes we've listed so far. Defeat means friendship. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Like Tien, Yamcha.
Oh yeah, because it started with Yamcha. Yamcha was the OG.
Yamcha was the OG. Tien and Chaozu were next, right?
And then Piccolo.
Vegeta, of course. And the androids.
Frieza,
kinda.
You know. Frieza was a lot longer turnaround. You know, definitely the androids. 17 being brought back in Super.
Yeah, because, 16 actually survived, right? Like, the Cell Saga.
16 did?
Or not, 18. I'm sorry, 18.
Yeah, 18.
16's death is what triggered...
Yeah, I was about to say, that was like a whole thing.
Super Saiyan. But didn't Dr. Briefs rebuild him? I could have sworn he rebuilt him at the end there.
I'm not saying no, I just don't remember actually seeing him in canon material.
Yeah, no, I think he appears like as a brief cameo, lending Goku energy for the Spirit Bomb at the end of at the end of the Buu saga. I think
maybe.
But anyway.
Yeah. I just really love the way they handled 17 and Super though.
No, yeah, he had the best comeback, but yeah, defeat means friendship is a big one.
Yep.
What other tropes are there?
Beam struggles.
Beam struggles is a great one. Yeah, that's a really good one.
You know, which a lot of other anime don't do that exactly, but you know, I feel like that was a trope that still kind of got passed on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they did time travel.
Yeah, but wasn't that a trope before? Like, I don't know if
it was, but I think it's one of the earliest, like, anime I know of that did it, and did it to the point where it's not like, wow, this makes no sense.
Yeah, no, almost, yeah, the time travel arguably, like, could make sense, you know.
No, it's multiverse theory.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it works, but...
You know.
Yeah, so those are just a couple of the tropes Dragon Ball Z has.
You know, was it a trope, or now it's... No, I think it's more of a meme, the whole Spirit Bomb, give me your energy.
Yeah, I think that's more of a meme, but like, yeah, like it is. That is a trope, right? Where you they are always relying on a final last ditch attack.
You know, because
actually the record for the Spirit Bomb is pretty bad.
I know, right?
Like it doesn't work. It doesn't finish off Vegeta. Doesn't finish off Frieza.
Nope.
I don't think he used it against Cell, did he?
Nope.
And then so the only like hit it actually succeeds at, I think, is Majin Buu.
Yeah, because it doesn't work against Jiren.
Yeah, it doesn't work against Jiren either.
Yeah, so like, strictly speaking,
the Spirit Bomb is very
Omega Shenron, depending how you want to count it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, technically that does. Yeah, but
because they do the Universal Spirit Bomb.
Yeah, it's the Universal Spirit Bomb there.
So yeah, no, it's like
So
Two for
it's like
5.
yeah, 2 out of like no, I think it's 2 out of 6.
Yeah, because Vegeta, Frieza, Not Cell, and then
Vegeta, Frieza, Boo,
Boo, and then
Jiren,
and Shenron.
and Shenron. So 5. You were right. It is 5.
So okay,
2 out of 5.
I can still count.
It's a 40% success rate. It's not even 50% successful. So, like, I don't know why they keep relying on that technique.
Because it's the Spirit Bomb, homie.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, so it's like there's a lot there, and then of course there's the characters, which are like the protagonist being a goofy, not super intelligent big eater is a recurring theme in a lot of series now. One Piece has that with Luffy and
yeah, because Dragon Ball was more or less the first. Yeah. No, I'd say that's a trope. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, again, like I said, defeat meets
tournament
friendship.
arcs.
Yeah, lots of tournament arcs, but they weren't the first to do that.
Oh, okay.
For sure. But they made tournament arcs super popular. I won't deny that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. And then, of course, there's a very notable cast. Another thing, too, is this is more of a reputation, but Toriyama has a reputation for just forgetting characters existed.
Oh, yeah.
Launch is a big one.
Oh, Launch is a huge one.
You know, the original like Dragon Ball cast basically ends up doing like nothing after a certain point. I think it's like after the Saiyan saga, like their role becomes smaller and smaller to the point they just don't do anything.
I had one more for the Spirit Bomb.
Yeah.
Are we counting Super Android 13 where he absorbs the Spirit Bomb and then beats the shit out of him?
I'll count that.
So, okay, so it's 3 for 6.
2 for 6.
No, we already 2 for 5.
Yeah, but it doesn't succeed against 13.
I mean, he uses it to beat the shit out of him.
He does, but he absorbs it. He doesn't hit him with it.
Oh, okay. So we'll say 2 for 6.
Yeah, so 2 for 6. Yeah, he doesn't hit him with it. He beats him with his fists.
Sorry, I was just like, wait, I remember another Spirit Bomb instance.
Yeah.
But yeah, the main character eating a lot, we said that.
See, I count that more like what they did with Brawly, where like he absorbs all the energy and then like punches him really hard. Like that's so like he does use the Spirit Bomb, but then instead of throwing it at him because he knows it won't work, because he'll just absorb it. So that's why I count it as a miss.
Does a Spirit Sword count as a Spirit Bomb?
No. No.
Damn.
No, it does not.
I tried. That Spirit Sword was dope.
It was pretty dope, but yeah, they have a pretty unique cast of characters. Like we said, defeat means friendship plays like a big role in a lot of this, where almost every major character is a former villain.
Or they die.
Yeah, or they die and are never heard from again.
Yeah. Like there is no middle ground.
Yeah, it's like you either get defeated and you become a good guy eventually.
Yeah.
Or you get defeated and you die.
Yeah, because that was basically all of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Z, they kill Raditz.
They kill Raditz first. But technically Piccolo kills Raditz, and he's still technically a villain at that time.
Arguably speaking, yes.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, Raditz dies and doesn't become a good guy.
Yeah.
Like, in the track record.
And then
Vegeta kills Nappa.
Yeah,
Again,
Vegeta
the
kills
villain's
Nappa.
killing him, but nonetheless.
Vegeta kills pretty much all of the Ginyu Force.
Yep.
And they don't come back. Goku doesn't kill Frieza.
Yeah, and then Frieza kinda?
Frieza's still a bad guy, but he's a bad guy who's willing to work with them under the right circumstances.
Yeah.
Namely being threatened by the God of Destruction. That helps a lot.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt nothing.
Then we have Cell, who actually is, like, I think the only villain, aside from, like, Majin Buu, and Majin Buu has, like, big quotes around it, to actually get killed by a protagonist, because he gets killed by Gohan, and not a villain, and doesn't come back.
Yep. One of the first as far as, the hero doing it.
And then technically Majin Buu does, but then he gets reincarnated, so technically he comes back?
Well, yeah, so Kid Buu gets killed by the Spirit Bomb and gets reincarnated
as
into
Oob.
Based off Goku's wish to the dragon, yes.
So, yes, that's
however you want to phrase that.
Technically yes, but technically no. It's a gray area.
That's why we like Oob.
Yeah. Oob is arguably the best thing to come out of GT.
Oob, if you didn't know, is just Boo backwards.
Yes. And
Oob technically came out of original Dragon Ball, like strictly speaking.
Yeah, because
they just ran with him in GT.
Yeah, well, because his tribe is mentioned in Dragon Ball.
That and the last episode of original Dragon Ball Z has Oob.
Yeah.
Like as a little kid doing the Budokai Tenkaichi tournament to get money to get food for his tribe.
Yeah, that's why it's canon.
Yeah, that's
So,
what I'm saying. Yeah, like
yeah.
Oob is like core Dragon Ball Z. Like
Yeah.
that's not even like me just talking about only GT.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, we have, like I said, a lot of defeat means friendship, a lot of character development, like long term. I think Vegeta to this day still has like one of the best like long term character arcs in like any series.
Yeah.
Because he is just like so unabashedly evil for 2 arcs.
Yeah.
Like even in the Namek saga,
No, he's still a dickhead.
he's still very evil.
Yeah.
And again, he only works with Krillin and Gohan out of necessity, and he's planning to betray them.
Yep.
Like,
And he tells them he's gonna betray them.
oh yeah, 100%. Like, he's unabashedly evil for 2 arcs. He's less of a antagonist and more of just like an, I don't even want to say an anti-hero. He's more of an anti-villain.
Yeah, he's just
in the Android saga.
Yeah, he's just a dickhead in the Android saga.
And it isn't until like the Majin Buu saga that he.
Well, the funny thing is the Majin Buu saga, like, has Vegeta, like, turning into Majin Vegeta, which is like, oh shit, he's just gonna be evil again now.
Yeah.
And then specifically saying, fuck all y'all, I'm the best dad ever. Like,
Yeah.
fuck Goku, I win Dad of the Year. Which, actually, that's not even that arguable, honestly, comparatively speaking.
No, even in Super, like, Vegeta is absolutely portrayed to be the better husband and the better father.
Yeah, it's sad. Isn't that crazy? Like, the original, like, main villain is now the better husband and better father.
Yep. Even crazier is that he was going to murder Bulma.
Yeah.
So, like, just straight up murder Bulma.
He was gonna fuck that ass up, then he fucked that ass up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, you know, yeah, and then just does that whole big sacrifice.
Yeah, which is
against
like
Boo.
Which is his like defining moment. You know, we didn't really cover this in the Team 4-Star episode, but like that is like the one scene I wish they would do for the Majin Buu saga. I understand why
Team 4, so
I understand why they're never going to do it.
Yeah, because if anything,
that,
they do the whole thing, and they're not getting into that yet.
But man, I would just love for them.
Yeah, Lenny's portrayal of all that. Yeah,
I would have loved to hear like Lenny's delivery of that like moment. But anyway. So yeah, but like I said, Vegeta has like arguably one of like the best long-term character arcs. The thing I like about him is it's not like he gets beaten and he just immediately becomes like a friend, which is like what happens with like Yamcha in a lot of ways and with Tien.
Yamcha, Tien, Piccolo.
Piccolo not as much. Piccolo more becomes a good guy because of Gohan.
Yeah.
Because he develops affection for the boy.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is a good story as well.
That's what I was going to say. Piccolo would be my runner-up as far as character development.
Absolutely.
Did you ever watch the newest movie?
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I haven't.
Yeah, they do like some really great stuff with Piccolo in that movie.
Yeah, I've heard it's supposed to be like a Gohan and Piccolo movie, but Piccolo like steals the show.
Yeah.
So, but which doesn't surprise me. Like Piccolo is my favorite Z character, like hands down. So he's been my favorite character since I was like 7. So that still hasn't changed. Like nothing about that has changed.
I just picked the dude with the fucking sword, man.
I mean, in fairness, Trunks is pretty cool.
My favorite meme was like, on paper, Trunks is like the nerdiest dude ever. Like bowl cut, like high-rise pants, like crop top jacket.
But
he's so fucking cool.
And he even wears a ponytail too. So.
But he's the coolest one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, future Trunks is.
Yeah. For future Trunks, yeah.
Yeah, Kid Trunks is a spoiled brat, which is hilarious. But yeah, so like Vegeta has like a really good character arc. Piccolo has a really good character arc. It is a shame that like so many characters like just kind of end up getting like discarded. And it's unfortunate. Like I feel Yamcha in particular got like a really like short straw. Like, I don't know what it is, but, like, Toriyama just, like, hates Yamcha.
Yeah.
Like, turned him into a cheater on, like, Bulma, and then, like, you know, blew him up. Like, he gets freaking, like, curb stomped in the battle against the Cybermen. He's actually the only one of the Z fighters to die to the Cybermen. Everyone else dies fighting Nappa.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, it's just, like...
He just got Yamcha'd, man.
Yeah. It's become a meme. And he just gets no love. He gets captured, like, he gets immediately bodied by Cell, like in the Android saga.
Oh, Jiro.
Yeah, by Jiro of all people, yeah.
Yeah, because Jiro captures him and just stabs him through the gut.
And,
he doesn't die from it, but nonetheless.
Yeah, but it's like, he basically doesn't do anything for, like, the rest of the series after after the Saiyan saga.
I'll never forget, like, even, again, this is more like core Dragon Ball, but Yamcha was, like, one of the contenders.
Yeah.
You know, Yamcha, like, with it was called the Spirit Ball, you know, technique, and just, like, him unveiling that, and, like, actually, because who was that? Was that against Roshi?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and just, like, actually, like, standing a chance against Roshi, of all people.
Who,
like,
as we established, was the original, like, most powerful character in the series.
Like, you know, he was a contender back in the day, and yeah, it just...
But even then, like, you look at, like, his tournament record, and I think he got knocked out in the first round, like, every time.
Oh, yeah, well, when they were in the finals. You know, he made it to the quote-unquote finals, or whatever the main stage is called. Like, I don't know if that's
Yeah. Well, it's the final bracket, but he got eliminated in the first round of the final bracket.
No, that's what, but I'm just trying to say he didn't
like,
make
every
it...
tournament.
Because they have, like, the open, like, side part, like, to get into the...
Yeah, and he clears that every time, easily.
To get to the main stage tournament, or whatever the... I'm not a big tournament goer, so I don't know the proper phrasing.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about. It's like there's qualifiers, and then there's the actual, like, tournament.
Yeah.
And he qualifies every tournament.
Yeah.
But he just never makes it very far. But he also has really bad luck, because I think, like, every opponent he faces in the first round, like, goes to the finals.
Oh, yeah. Well, that, and I think one he faces off against Shen, right?
Yeah. He faced off against, I think, Shen, against Jackie Chun, and I can't remember who his third opponent was, but I think it might have been...
Was it Tien?
I think it might have been Tien, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was...
I think he loses to Tien.
I think it was Jackie Chun, Tien, and Shen, like, according... Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, he has bad luck on the draw. But they don't do anything with Yamcha. Chaozu has, like, really cool, like, a really unique character design and really cool, like, abilities.
Yeah.
And then just, again, like, after the Saiyan saga, just does nothing for
I
the
feel
rest of the
both
series.
Chaozu and Tien as far as just abilities.
Tien has a couple really good moments, though, in the series.
No, yes, I'm not saying moments. I'm just saying, like, as far as, like, combat abilities and them being, like, actually different.
Yeah, but I wasn't talking about that. I'm talking more about the role they play in the story like, why I'm disappointed Chaozu doesn't play a bigger role.
Yes.
I was going to get to Tien.
My bad.
Tien, as you pointed out, also has, like, really unique techniques, although the solar, like, everyone learns the solar flare. But at the time, it was like his thing.
But he had the Kagebushi no Jutsu.
Yep.
And then I think is the same general technique that gave him 4 arms, right?
I think so, yeah.
Or something like that.
And then he has the Tri-Beam.
The Tri-Beam was in... that was in still Dragon Ball. Yes.
Yeah, but he uses it multiple times.
And then the Dodon Ray.
Yeah.
And Tien and Chaozu are the ones that had flying, dude.
Yeah.
Like, they were the first ones to fly.
Yeah. And so they did a really, really, like, again, super cool, also a unique character design, because he has the, the Eye of Enlightenment, the third eye.
Yeah.
And, it just, even, like, when he's fighting against Nappa, like, he gets his arm cut off, and then still, like, actually damages Nappa.
Tri-beams with one arm and, like, tries to fuck him up the best he can.
Yeah. I mean, granted, it's not successful, but Chaozu literally self-destructs, doesn't do much against Nappa. Tri-beam actually, like, does kind of hurt him slightly, but Tien unfortunately dies.
Yeah.
But Tien at least gets one super badass moment against Cell, of all people, where he holds off Cell long enough for, I think, 16 and 18 to get away.
Yeah.
Semi-perfect Cell.
Yeah, 16 and 18. Yeah, because he already had 17.
Because he had already got 17.
Yep.
But, yeah, just... What a crazy, like, situation, and
no,
just an awesome moment to just go, like, he just Tri-beams Cell over and over again, and it doesn't, like, kill him, but he buys some time.
But it subdues him. Like, Cell can't do anything against it.
And that's more than just about any other member of the Z Fighters, save Piccolo and Krillin, and, of course, Goku.
Like, Krillin does some other stuff, like, later, but, like... Even against Cell, Krillin doesn't do anything that...
Not really.
That good.
Krillin is, in my opinion, he's one of the most interesting characters. He's also, in my opinion, the most illogically, like, written character by Toriyama. Like, if I have a single complaint about Dragon Ball, it's the way that Toriyama writes Krillin. Because Krillin's freaking Destructo Disc can cut through, like, literally anything. And yet, he never freaking uses it in a way that makes sense.
I know, right?
Like, there's a notable issue, and, like, Team 4-Star makes fun of this in the Abridged series, but, like, he solar flares Frieza in, like, a filler moment in the anime. And it's like, he's blinded, literally cut Frieza in half with your freaking Destructo Disc while he's blinded.
And we know it works because Frieza does it to himself.
Yeah. So it's like... So that's my issue with like Krillin is it's like, man, he's like the strongest of the non like alien Z fighters.
Yeah.
And he arguably has the most powerful technique in the entire series. And he never gets his due.
Nope.
Like even when he's given the spirit bomb in Dragon Ball Z to use against Frieza, he misses and Gohan has to reflect it.
No, that was against Vegeta.
Or Vegeta, not Frieza, thank you.
Yeah.
But it's like, just Krillin never gets like his moment in the sun. And it's like,
yeah.
Why? He knows the Kamehameha wave. You know, he's powerful and skilled enough to do that. His Destructo Disc technique is when combined with the solar flare, that's like an instant win to any fight.
Pretty much.
And he never does it. It's just it bothers me because like, and Krillin's also a smart fighter too. Like he's very tactical.
Yeah. They even like bring that back up in Super too.
Yeah, but then of course in Super he's the first member of their team eliminated. Like he does like almost nothing, and it's like, man.
You know, one of my favorite Krillin facts is Chaozu technically has more hair.
This is true.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, technically.
Chaozu has like a single strand of hair, and it's like, nah, I got hair, Baldy.
But in fairness though, Krillin does shave his head, so he does grow his hair out in after the.
No, I know.
After the Android saga.
I just remember that being
and let's be real, Krillin marries 18.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's the real winner of this series.
Yeah, all the memes where it's like, no, Krillin's my favorite. Like, why the fuck do you like Krillin? I don't know. And then, like, in their thought bubbles, just 18.
Yeah.
Like, just horny pictures of 18.
Well, it's not even that, but, like, what I look at, like, Krillin is, like, he ends up becoming, like, you know, settling down and becoming, like, a dad as well. And
Krillin becomes a police officer, too.
He does, which is a great job for someone like him, right? Hey, Tanner boy, what are you doing? You interrupting our recording again?
Do you think he stops crime
Here,
saying
boy.
it's Kriller time?
I don't know, probably. Knowing Krillin, yes. But, and then, we talked a bit about Piccolo having, like, a really good arc in the series.
Yeah, and Piccolo has some cool varied techniques, too.
Yeah. Special Beam Cannon, Hellzone Grenade, which Hellzone Grenade is still, like, one of my favorite, like, technique names of all time. Special Beam Cannon, I don't really care for it as much,
the naming? No. The actual attack itself is pretty dope.
Oh, it's super cool.
But yeah. You know, and Piccolo gets his moment to shine, too, as Super Namekian.
He gets several, where he goes toe-to-toe with, like, you know, Form 2 Frieza. He goes, you know, he basically bodies, you know, Imperfect Cell before Cell absorbs all the people.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure even against... was Imperfect Cell still stronger than Piccolo?
Not initially.
Yeah.
No, so initially Piccolo, especially after he fused with Kami, Piccolo was the strongest creature on the planet for a little while.
Yeah.
And when he first finds Imperfect Cell...
Or no, that's what I mean. Or semi-imperfect cell, I think, is what I meant.
Yes, so...
After he absorbs 17.
No, so Piccolo gets bodied by Imperfect Cell.
Oh, okay.
And that's when 16 has to step in.
Oh, okay.
Because Imperfect Cell has literally absorbed the life force of so many people that he actually surpassed Piccolo in power. And then he basically one-shots Piccolo and tosses him into the ocean.
And that was after he merged with Kami?
Yeah. Because this was after and I mean, granted, Piccolo was tired from like having a draw with 17. Like they had basically fought to a standstill.
Oh, this was after the 17 fight.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was trying to remember. Yeah.
And then Imperfect Cell comes in and just bodies Piccolo.
Yeah.
And that's when 16 steps in. And that's when and Cell, you know, manages to absorb 17 because for whatever reason 17 and 18 don't leave.
I know, right? As Piccolo and him are fighting.
Yeah. Well, like Piccolo even like tries to like buy 17 time, and just they don't leave. And then
because Piccolo knows better.
Yeah,
you know?
and then 16 steps in, and they still don't leave. And then they get absorbed, and it takes Tien like having his badass moment for them to like finally.
Like 18, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, and also they do Piccolo some justice.
Yeah, in the latest movie.
Yeah,
finally. He also has some really good moments in the Tournament of Power arc.
Yeah, no, still good moments. I just didn't want to spoil too much.
Yeah, he's just not as useful as, like, he doesn't get as many highlights as like 17 does, for example. Or even 18. 18 gets some good moments too. But Yeah.
Because wasn't it 18, like, why let them power up? Just fuck them up first.
Oh, that was 17, I think.
Was that 17?
Yeah, I think that was 17 who did that.
Okay.
Yeah. But, yeah, so you have this great cast of characters, and then we talked about it, like, right before we went live, but we have to kind of talk about the Android Saga a bit here, because, like, the Namek Saga has a lot of, like, nothing in the anime, because there's just so much filler and, like, space. It's very oddly paced. And then the Android Saga has this really weird problem where in the manga, Toriyama's editor kept wanting him to change who the villains were. Because the original villain was going to be Dr. Zero and 19, like the original 2 androids. But the editor didn't care for those. So then Toriyama introduced 17, 18, and 16. And we're like, these are going to be the main villains. And Toriyama's editor was like, I still don't like those. So then they introduced Cell. And Cell, the editor was like, I don't like Cell's first design. So they transformed him into Semi-Perfect Cell. The editor's like, I still don't like that. So that's how we got to Perfect Cell. So if you're ever like watching Dragon Ball or reading the manga and you're like, why are there so many freaking androids? And they're technically cyborgs, but...
I know, right? That's been the thing. Sadly enough, like, Dragon Ball proper has been consistent with it.
At least. Like, they may have gotten it wrong.
But they've been consistently wrong.
But at least, yeah, and that's like what... It's the same thing like with the One Piece manga, where they call him Zolo, not Zoro.
Uh-huh.
They still freaking call him Zolo in the manga all these years later. It drives me nuts. Like, that's not his name. Anyway.
But, yeah, like, all these years later, they're still Android 17.
Android
Even
18.
though in Dragon Ball Super, he says he got stronger because he trained his human part, which means he's not a full robot.
Which means he's not an android. He's a cyborg.
Yeah. They're like, he's Android 17. I'm like, all right, in the Dragon Ball universe, an android means a cyborg.
Yeah, did you know their names are Lapis and Lazuli?
I want to say yes, but yeah, no.
Yeah, that was revealed in like an AMA.
Oh, okay.
Like
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Toriyama like said like he introduced power levels just to like make them meaningless.
Because
like,
he does.
No, but like that was the point of their introduction.
Yeah.
Was to make them meaningless.
See, I don't buy that because of Toriyama's like obviously lack of long-term planning. I don't buy that at all. Like
that's just what I've seen. But yeah,
look, I respect Toriyama, but like, look, when you introduce a character who you're introducing as basically a god, Kami, and it turns out that he's not even like a god at all.
Well, no, I mean power levels as in the number.
No.
Okay.
I'm still pointing out, like,
yeah.
I'm still using this, like, power levels were introduced early on in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
And they lasted for 2 full arcs. And even after that, they still hung around for a bit. But it's like, I don't believe that he deliberately introduced them to make them meaningless. I think he used them to try and create power references to show the differences in strength. And then he realized they were bullshit and was like, okay, now I'm going to make them useless. That's my opinion, because again, Toriyama loved the dude. But it's very clear when you look at like his universe building and his world building, he has no long-term planning.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I mean, the only reason...
You know, I just, when I hear stuff like that, that's just my opinion. Again, I don't know, maybe it is true.
Yeah.
But like, I have a hard time believing that.
No, I'm with you. Like, my only like input would be the whole fact like Earthlings like hide their power level, and then all of a sudden like the special beam cannon can kill like Raditz because all of a sudden all his keys in one point, like, is the only reason I can like buy maybe like how it could start.
I see that, but I just look at the overwhelming evidence of his long-term planning.
Yeah.
And I don't see that as a reality.
Yeah.
I view it as like, look, he probably introduced them originally to give some kind of scale, and then he quickly realized that the scale becomes meaningless.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not trying to argue.
Yeah.
I just...
Like I said, that's my take on it. I'm not saying that's factual. I'm not a mind reader.
Yeah.
I wasn't there. But just, I don't know, like, as someone who's done world building, Toriyama's not good at it. Like, he's great at it, but he's not good at long-term world building is probably what I should say.
You know what he's really good at? Like, cutting corners as far as, like, the drawings.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the whole, in the original Budokai tournament, Goku destroying that statue.
Oh, yeah.
So they don't have to keep drawing
it again? No, absolutely. I think he's great with that. Like, don't get me wrong, Toriyama's super creative.
Oh, no, I just wanted to bring up that, and then the fact why Super Saiyan's hair is yellow. so they don't have to color in the hair anymore.
Yeah, one less thing for them to do. Yeah,
because his I don't know if it was him or the person who colored it was complaining, like, coloring in Goku's hair all the time.
Yeah.
So that's why he created, like, the Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
And, like, made it yellow and everything.
And that, again, goes to my point of, like, I don't feel it's a lot of long-term planning.
Yeah.
I think he's practical.
Yeah. No, that's why I'm like, yeah, I agree with you in that aspect.
Yeah, so that's why when I hear stories like, oh, yeah, I did this, like, I'm like, maybe you did. Like, I'm not going to outright call you a liar, but I'm going to press X to doubt.
It sounds good in hindsight.
Yeah, I absolutely think that's a hindsight thing. And, again, like, I love Toriyama and his work. I really do. I feel that, honestly, Super was better when he was involved in it. Like, the movies that he's involved in are better than the ones where he's not. I think he's a genius. But just because he's a genius doesn't mean he's infallible.
Yeah,
and
no, for sure.
I look at it again, it's like... And some of it is, like, editorial stuff, right? Like, maybe power levels, like, one other option is... Maybe power levels were introduced because his editor wanted a reference, and he knew they were bullshit from the start. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But for me, I look at it and I'm like, Super Saiyan was, like, built up to be, like, the end-all, be-all.
Yeah.
How many transformations do we have now?
Depends who you ask.
Yeah.
GT fans, we have 4.
No, I mean, if you count Heroes, they're still there, so...
No, I know, that's why I was joking.
But it's just... But then you have Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue... Ascended Super Saiyan, and then there's some spoiler ones we can't talk about.
Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan. That's the official phrasing.
Whatever. Who cares? He has blue hair.
I have blue hair.
Yeah. But point being, though, is that, like, yeah, I love Toriyama, but I look at him and I go, this is not someone who had, like, this whole thing planned out.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but...
I think because...
Don't pretend like you did, dude. Like, come on. This is like... I can't remember his name, but this is like the guy who did Rave Master and Fairy Tail.
Hiro...
Mashima?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, if he were to come out and say, like, I planned the whole plot from start to finish, I'd be like, bullshit, you did. Like,
motherfucker, shut up.
You were flying from the seat of your pants. And I feel like Toriyama did that too. And again, like we talked about, like with the androids were not his fault.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm just saying, like, there's so much in Dragon Ball that it's like, it's clear that he was just building on what existed. But what I like, because I'm not, like, dunking on Toriyama by any stretch, but I'm like, he's at least been consistent in the way he's built this stuff up. Like, yes, it's a knock to say, like, oh, look, here's another god. Oh, look, here's another form. But the rules of those transformations and those powers have at least been fairly consistent.
Yeah.
And, like, the scale has increased along with them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like, if you're going to do it, I think Toriyama's doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Like, he still has that solid foundation, and he's building on it. He's not, like... building like something that like teeters, which is kind of like what Mashima does.
Huh.
But yeah, so it's always interesting to me though, because again, like you look at all these characters, we haven't even talked about like Goku or like Chi-Chi or Gohan very much, but like yeah, Gohan was supposed to be the protagonist after the Android saga and the Cell saga.
Well, yeah, originally Dragon Ball Z proper.
Was supposed to end with the Cell saga.
Yes.
But then it came back, and they tried to make Gohan the protagonist.
Yes.
And that didn't work.
No.
And...
Gohan had too much influence with the Ginyu Force. You know what, though? Like, seeing that meme back in the day, I'm like, oh, fuck, they're right.
It makes
like,
sense.
The Ginyu Force is like what the Great Saiyaman is.
No,
like
very much so. But Samurai loves the Great Saiyaman.
Yes.
I can't
Rest in peace, Samurai.
I can't stand it. He's not dead. Don't go lying to our listener, Shoshima. He's not dead. But yeah, Gohan, I think to me, like we talked about Krillin, Gohan is the most fumbled character in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
He has so many like stops and starts. Like he's hinted at from the beginning, like from literally the original Saiyan arc with Raditz to have
his introduction.
Yeah, to have this great power hidden within him, and yet he never realizes it until the Cell saga, which could have been awesome long-term planning. Except for the fact that he has his potential unlocked by Guru.
Yeah.
in the Namekian saga, and then he's still not even strong enough to match Vegeta. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, okay, you can chalk that up to like his inexperience or whatever,
or him being 7.
Yeah.
Or no, was he even?
I think he was 6.
Yeah, he was like 6 or 7.
I think he was like 6.
Yeah.
I think he was like 4.
He was 4 in the beginning. He was 5
in the Saiyan saga, and then I think he turned 6 in in the Namekian saga. But yeah, so he's like 5 or 6, and so it's like maybe that could be the explanation. But it's like you've hyped him up as having like enough power to overwhelm Raditz temporarily, and he never really gets like his just desserts.
Yeah, I mean he takes on second form Frieza for a hot minute.
For like a second, and then Piccolo has to come in and save him.
That's what I just
usual.
Said. Yeah.
So he doesn't really get his moment in the sun at all.
He's fucking 6, dude. Like...
but my point is, you're building him up as having all this potential.
Yeah.
And he never uses it until the very end of the Cell Saga. And then he loses it in the Great Saiyan Man in the Majin Buu saga.
That is where I'm going to give it to you. I can't like argue with that.
And see, that's my problem. Is it's like he's just so inconsistently written. It's like, yes, I know he's young, but he literally has moments where he can like go toe to toe with like Raditz or Vegeta or Frieza, second form Frieza. And it's never built on that, like ever. He never does anything beyond that until the Cell Saga. And even then, it takes the entire Android Saga and the Cell Saga and the Cell games. Mm-hmm. And then, 16 basically sacrificing his life to trigger that.
Yeah. Just putting into perspective, though, Teen Gohan in the Cell Saga is 11.
Yeah.
Goku at the start of OG Dragon Ball was 12.
Yeah.
Like, so comparatively speaking, motherfucker's way better than his dad.
For sure, but also it's established from the beginning that he has the power to, exceed everyone else.
Yeah.
But he doesn't become a Super Saiyan until the Cell Saga. And then he unlocks Super Saiyan 2, which is cool. He's the first one to do it. Mm-hmm. But, again, they don't do anything with it. Mm-hmm. And that's what I talk about why, like, I feel he's, like, such a wasted character in a lot of ways. Is because it's like, oh... Here he is, like, he shows this, like, peak of brilliance in
Cell.
in against Raditz.
Okay.
And then he has he gets trained by Piccolo for a year, doesn't do anything against the Saiyans, which is understandable because, again, you can play the kid card there.
Yeah.
But at that point, he's already survived and he's a willing participant in the Namekian saga. He willingly goes into fights and he gets bodied in every fight he takes part of, gets his potential unlocked, has like a 1-minute moment of sunshine against Frieza, gets bodied, then doesn't really do anything throughout the entire Android and Cell saga until he becomes a Super Saiyan in the hyperbolic time chamber.
Yeah.
Battles against Cell and unlocks Super Saiyan 2, and then after that just doesn't really... Gets his potential unlocked again in the Buu saga. And it's just like...
That always confused me as a kid, like...
But that's what I'm talking about, though. It's like, you have a character, and it's like... The idea is, if you want to do, like, a long-term character build, end it at Cell. Mm-hmm. And it would have been fine.
Oh, yeah. No, it would have been... I don't know if you could really have this argument that much, like, if it wasn't for the Buu saga.
And that's what I'm talking about. It's like you built all this up. He never gets a moment until the Cell saga, so it should be a really big deal, and it was.
Yeah.
And then it's all undone by what comes after it, and that's the problem.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I can't argue with that part whatsoever.
And that's what, and that takes away everything else that Gohan did up until that point. Which, that's a big problem, like, narratively, a lot of things have, like the MCU is struggling with that right now, for example, so it's not like, this is not just me dunking on Toriyama, but it's a very noticeable issue with Gohan.
I do feel like, well, again, who knows in another 10 years what's going to happen, but in the new movie, they're, like, trying to rectify and, like, in my opinion, bring more characters into, like, the Power Fold, or however...
See... I would believe that if they haven't already done that to us twice.
Yeah, no, we'll have, time will tell.
And that's with, like, Ultimate Gohan and, of course, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan.
Oh, yeah, well, because arguably, Super Saiyan 2 was the strongest.
Yeah.
Ultimate Gohan was arguably the strongest unfused Z fighter.
Yes. And
both of them ended up not doing too much.
oh, actually, I'm sorry, 3 times, because the movie takes place after where Super currently is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and in Super he doesn't do like a whole lot.
And they build him up again for the Tournament of Power.
Mm-hmm.
And he still doesn't do very much there either.
Yeah.
So they've had, this is the 4th time they've done this to us. So color me skeptical, okay?
Yeah, no,
like,
I'm just trying to say, like, it looks like they're trying to do something, but this is, like, the first thing, we'll have to see what the next project brings.
Tell us your thoughts in chat down below. What do you think? Do you think they're going to fuck up Gohan again? Yes or no in the chat.
Yeah.
Let us know. We'd love to hear it.
Survey says they're going to fuck Gohan.
They won't get it wrong a 4th time, right?
No, not at all. No.
Mm-mm. And then, of course, we have one of the big issues with, like, Vegeta, right? We talked about his character arc, but, like, they finally gave him, like, a win, albeit off screen, over Goku. Mm-hmm. And he's, like, supposed to be established as, like, the number 2 or, on par with Goku.
Yeah.
And his record just doesn't reflect that, unfortunately. He never really takes part in beating any of the big bads, not directly. He helps, don't get me wrong. Yeah. Like, he's instrumental in,
well, against... Not so much Frieza.
Yeah.
Instrumental against Cell. He helps Gohan.
He's a big help against Cell. He also, does pretty... He does get his moment where he destroys 19. Android 19, yep. And he thrashes Jiro, like Jiro's scared of him.
Not gonna lie though, that whole like Vegeta Super Saiyan, like, how did you become Super Saiyan? I hated myself because I wasn't Super Saiyan, so now I'm Super Saiyan.
Remember what I said about long-term planning? Toriyama was like, we have to come up with a way to make Vegeta Super Saiyan. Here, we'll just pull this out of our ass.
Is that not in character, though?
It is absolutely in character.
At least as far as pulling shit out of your ass, it's totally in character.
Look, I'm not going to disagree that it works. But I'm pointing out, again, the lack of long-term planning here. When you build up the whole Super Saiyan legend is, you're only supposed to be like 1 in X
generation
number.
Yeah.
I think I made my case. I don't think I need to keep pointing it out, but I will. I will, because I'm going to beat that into the ground.
Huh. But yeah, no, because Vegeta, not too much against Frieza.
No, he doesn't do much against Frieza.
Cell.
He does help against Cell.
He helps against Majin Buu.
Yeah, he helps against Majin Buu, and then he plays a bit of a bigger role in Super. Mm-hmm. But even then, like, you look at like a lot of the villains, like, he doesn't finish off Frieza in Resurrection of F.
Yeah.
In fact, Vegeta is actually directly responsible for Frieza blowing up the entire planet because he stalls too much.
Yep.
Let's see. He does not become the Super Saiyan God. That's Goku in Battle of Gods.
Yeah.
He does play a pretty significant role in Tournament Power, but he's not part of the final trio even.
Yeah.
He does defeat Topa, I think, right?
Yeah.
Which
Topo? Yeah,
Topo
right?
or Topa, yeah. But he's the God of Destruction candidate. So, like, he does get that moment, which is pretty cool, but he doesn't really do much against Jiren.
Not only does he defeat him and gets that moment, but he reuses his self-destruct moment and magically doesn't die this time?
Yeah. Yeah, again, long-term planning. But, yeah, so, like, Vegeta has a couple moments, but, like, the big thing is, like, he's never really portrayed as, like, the equal to Goku, like, ever. It's stated he is, by, like, word of God. Mm-hmm. But, again, like, actions speak louder than words, and when you look at his track record, it's not that great. And then we have Goku, Goku's problem is he defeats everybody. He never really loses a fight, like, ever.
Yeah, because he defeats... he doesn't defeat Cell. He doesn't lose against Cell.
Yeah, he forfeits.
He does forfeit.
He forfeits voluntarily.
Yeah.
So at best, it's a draw.
And
technically, he doesn't beat. Technically, he does lose to Vegeta. Technically.
Yeah. No. And I.
So I guess I stand corrected.
Because he loses. I mean.
Yeah.
He's able to give Kriller the Spirit Bomb, but he loses.
Yeah.
And then Frieza he beats.
Yeah, he beats Frieza.
Does he beat Ginyu?
He would have beaten Ginyu.
Yeah.
Like, there was no question he would have. That's pretty technical.
Let's see. That's just because Ginyu's power set.
Yeah. He doesn't lose in any of the filler.
Oh, he loses to 19.
Okay,
his heart
yeah, he
condition.
does have the heart condition though, so I'm gonna give him an out on that one. But technically, you're right, he does. Technically, you're right.
That was
so,
Goku's canon event.
Yeah. But like, yeah, he basically comes in and he beats everybody, and it's like, okay. Then we have
He doesn't beat Fat Boo. He doesn't lose either, though.
no, and then technically, as is it Vegito?
Yeah.
They technically lose against Boo, but that was planned.
Well, yeah, I don't know if that's really losing. Like, their whole plan was to get absorbed.
Yeah, so, like, did he really lose, though? But, like, technically, I guess that fight would count as an L. He lost the battle, but won the war.
Huh.
So, he beats Kid Buu.
Yeah.
He beats every villain in Super.
Yeah.
He beats every villain in the movies.
Unless he's not the
Unless he's not
the villain.
Unless he's not in the movie.
Yeah.
Like.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of Goku's problem is, like, yeah, he beats everybody, basically. He only loses under, like, technicalities. Like, Vegeta, he technically does lose that fight.
Yeah.
But then he still, they still win.
The Z fighters win, yes.
Yeah. Well, he still wins with the Spirit Bomb, so it's still his technique.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying, as far as writing goes, though, like, that was still some peak, like, oh shit, Goku's down and he was like the one. What the fuck are we gonna do?
No, it was great. It's just unfortunate that, like, they never really do anything with that moving forward.
Yeah.
Then what is it too? Then and so Goku's kind of arc is very similar. He's either written out for whatever reason, whether it's the heart condition, they got to neutralize him somehow. Whether it's Ginyu taking over his body, him not having sensu beans after the Saiyan fight against Vegeta, him being
we missed one. He loses to Raditz.
No, that is not a loss. He sacrifices himself to win. But again, we're not even going to talk about the fact that a full Nelson was good enough to keep Raditz. Like, let's not even talk about that. Like, how that makes no fucking sense. But sure. Yeah. So he. But yeah, like he. Again, like his issue is he has to get written out in every issue, because he's too powerful. Like, even in the Cell Saga, it's like, oh, we have to go, like, train in the hyperbolic time chamber, so that's why he's not fighting against the androids, or, after he recovers from the heart thing, it's like, oh, we're just going to sit.
And then even, like, with Cell, like, they were more or less on par.
Yeah.
And he's like, nah, I'm good, my son's going to kick your ass instead.
Yeah. And
so here's a sensu bean, so you're at full power.
God, Goku. Oh, my God, Goku. But yeah, so like, and that's kind of the problem is, like, Goku, his story is predictable in every story he's in. Like, and again, that's not like a knock, but it's just, I think that's why he's not the most interesting character. Is, like, don't get me wrong, he's a good character, he's a fun character.
Yeah.
There's a reason why all these other protagonists are based off him.
Yeah.
But
they make all the people based off him, they do kind of help fix those flaws.
Yeah. And again, like, this is not like a knock. We're Dragon Ball fans. We love Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah. No.
But
I don't like it at all. Nope.
I am absolutely for audio listeners, he's gesturing to his Dragon Ball shirt.
I made sure to wear.
Yeah. But no, that you just happen to put on to match your beer cans.
I know, right?
But yeah, like, it just, again, when you love something, you have to acknowledge its flaws. It's not perfect, but
just Cell is
absolutely perfect.
I just love that sexual tension between Perfect Cell and Goku in the abridged series.
Takahata and Moscow, man, they're fucking good.
So,
but no, but like Dragon Ball, like, there's a reason why it's still going today. Like, after taking that huge break between GT and then Super coming out, like, there's a reason why it still holds a place in, like, legend for anime, and like, in many ways set the standards.
Yeah.
Again, I've knocked a lot of Toriyama's long-term planning, but, like, he created a wonderful story. Amazing characters. Yes, his weaknesses, he forgets about a lot of them. Launch being, like, the number one.
But there was
exception.
a lot of shit, like, too, in his defense.
No.
Not that makes it better, but
no. But I'm just pointing out that, like, again, Toriyama is human, and he has done an amazing job with this series. 3 of the top-selling anime / manga series of all time are directly inspired by Toriyama's work. My Hero Academia, which is like one of the current like biggest names, was inspired by Dragon Ball and Naruto and Bleach. Like,
Yeah.
Toriyama's work will
Can't be inspired by One Piece when One Piece is still going.
I mean, yes, you can.
I'm just playing.
Yeah. Fun fact, I don't know if you know this, but the author of My Hero actually wrote in to Oda as a fan.
That does sound familiar.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Like, Oda responded back to this artist. So, like, yeah, Oda, who's the artist of and writer of One Piece.
Yeah.
And the author and writer of My Hero, whose name escapes me at the moment.
I don't.
They have a very special connection because, like, yeah, he was a huge One Piece fan.
I'll never forget like the props that between Naruto and One Piece when Naruto was ending.
Oh yeah.
That the two authors gave each other.
Yep.
And then, yeah, I'll never forget too that learning that the My Hero artist is actually a big fan of Spider-Man.
Yep. Which makes total sense.
It makes sense, but I'm like, oh shit! Like
Yeah.
it still like blew my mind when I finally figured it out.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, again, like you're talking all these like top series in the shonen genre, and Dragon Ball's inspired all of them.
Yeah.
Like, if not directly, then indirectly. Like, stuff that, like I said, being a big fan of One Piece was directly inspired by Dragon Ball.
Mm-hmm.
So by proxy,
like we said, One Piece, Dragon Ball, or One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach.
all directly inspired. And hilariously enough, fixed a lot of the issues and also created a lot of issues.
Again, another meme that I did love too was in Naruto, like the picture of Team 7, but it's Goku as Kakashi.
Yeah.
And then it has Naruto, Ichigo, and Luffy.
Yeah.
I'm like,
which is, I think, an amazingly accurate portrayal.
Yeah.
Because we've talked a lot about, like, Toriyama and, some of the difficulties he faced, whether it was long-term planning or, his editor meddling.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, Dragon Ball Z exists because of how successful and how good of a job Toriyama did.
Mm-hmm.
It has some of the greatest long-term character storytelling with Piccolo and Vegeta, in particular. It has really interesting and compelling villain designs. Like, Frieza is one of the most iconic villains. Perfect Cell is an iconic villain. Majin Buu is an iconic villain.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you look at, like, all these characters like Piccolo, Goku, Vegeta, all have a big role in, like, pop culture now. Mm-hmm. And they're very recognizable to most people. Like, even non-anime fans know who these characters are, or at least have seen them.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you don't have to make a perfect piece of media in order to be successful. And Toriyama hit all the right notes. Mm-hmm. Goku is a likable, lovable character. Mm-hmm. Piccolo becomes there's a recurring joke on the internet of him being Gohan's real dad.
They're not wrong.
They're not. Vegeta, as you talked about, actually ends up winning Dad of the Year, which is like, wow, really?
Yeah, of all people.
Of all people. Trunks, who we haven't talked about at all.
Other than he's the best.
Is another amazing, notable character. His intro is probably one of the most iconic of all time, where he bodies Frieza and King Cold.
Yeah.
Okay, this sets the standard pretty well. And then, he plays a pretty big role in the Android Saga, too, which is in the Cell Saga, which is kind of nice.
And then they bring him back.
Yep. And there's a reason why they brought him back. They changed his hair color, though, which I thought was a bit weird.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And then, even specifically, current time Kid Trunks is still purple hair.
Yeah. Just, I don't know. Anyway, but, yeah, it's, they just so many, iconic character moments and developments. And, of course, there's the over 9,000 line, which was a mistranslation. But, nonetheless, still super iconic.
Because everybody else was only over 8,000.
Yep. American Goku's just stronger. That's the obvious logical conclusion.
Because America.
So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think anyone can deny the impact that Dragon Ball's had. And, I think we've talked about, just how much we love it, if that's been
If you can deny the fact that Dragon Ball wasn't a cultural phenomenon, then fucking fight me.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
seriously, I'm not much of a fighter. I'll fight you over that. Like,
Yeah, yeah, as far as just anime, I mean, because I feel like anime is more or less mainstream nowadays. Like, I've mentioned, like, before, can't remember if it's been on podcast or on stream about just, anime stickers on cars and shit. And, like, it wasn't a thing, like, when we were kids.
No, you were considered a nerd too, even like
Even just liking anime.
yeah, and now like it's gone mainstream, like you said. And
Yeah.
I don't think that happens without Dragon Ball.
No.
I really don't. We talked about there's a lot of series you could probably look back to: Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Sailor Moon,
Yeah.
maybe Shaman King, Yu Yu Hakusho, right? But
Yeah.
Dragon Ball is, I think, the one.
Dragon
that-
Ball's like the OG.
It's the one people know. Like, there's a reason why. Like, with all due respect, like Yu Yu Hakusho hasn't come back yet, like in another form. Same, like they did just redo Shaman King, but like it
That's
hasn't
because I
got
haven't
like
finished Hunter x Hunter yet.
yeah. Well, Hunter x Hunter is that has more to do with health. Health
I was
issues,
just
but,
making a very bad joke. I'm sorry.
But yeah, like I'm just saying that there's a reason why like Yu Yu Hakusho hasn't been brought back or continued. There's a reason why like even like Shaman King hasn't been brought back to the level that Dragon Ball has, where like Dragon Ball's getting movies released like in theaters.
No, because Shaman King was blatantly an abridged version,
Yeah.
just to resell the manga.
So it's again like you don't have what is essentially a continuation. Like what Super was almost like I think it was like 15 years later after GT finished, right?
Don't make me feel that old,
Yeah.
but yeah, probably yeah.
So like 15 years later, and you're still creating new content, like. And we talked about like the spin-offs. We alluded with like Heroes and the games, of course.
Oh, all the games, yeah. It was because Dragon Ball Heroes was the card game where you like got physical cards but played the video game.
Yeah.
And I believe like the video series is Dragon Ball Super Heroes, like Heroes.
Yeah.
Even though the movie is Dragon Ball Super Hero, like
Yeah. It's naming has never been the greatest thing in the Dragon Ball Z movies. We'll talk about that.
Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan.
Just naming, period. But again, long-term planning, guys.
But yeah, no, they've brought it back with that. I haven't watched too many of Dragon Ball Super Heroes.
It's pretty good.
Okay.
It's pretty good. Like it's one of those things where you have to just kind of acknowledge none of this is canon and a lot of it's goofy. But as soon as you do that, like I compared to the Fast and Furious franchise, which we've also talked about here on the podcast in the archives. But it's fun. It's Dragon Ball. And that's the thing is like, we've been critical, but that's what we do on the pod, right? We address criticisms and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's fun. And that's what matters, right? And I feel Superheroes does a really good job with that.
I need to go back and... What is that available on?
Oh, God. Probably Funimation.
Funimation.
Maybe Hulu.
Okay, I'll have to go check it out.
But-
I know I've recently acquired a Crunchyroll.
Look, if I can just... It might be on Crunchyroll. If I can sell you on one thing about superheroes, Super Saiyan 4 versus Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan.
No, I know. That was
One thing. That's all I'm going to tell you to sell you on it.
Oh, I've known about that, and that's all I needed. My problem is, I thought I was gonna get that in Dragon Ball FighterZ. They made GT, like, Goku. It was Kid Goku.
Yeah.
And he only turned Super Saiyan 4 in his, like, level 3 Super.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, I want fucking Super Saiyan 4
versus Super
Edgelord
Saiyan
Goku
Blue.
Versus Super Saiyan Blue.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. I was so sad.
So we've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes now, so I think it's time to go into kind of final thoughts.
Yeah, because at this rate, it's going to be the longest pod just about fucking Dragon Ball.
Yeah. Hey. So what are your final thoughts, Joe?
Final thoughts, Dragon Ball shaped me as a human being, and I don't even think that's that much of a lie. Like,
No,
honestly,
it is not a lie. We used to pretend to be Dragon Ball characters as small children.
With my same brother whose birthday is today, yes, we used to play, we called it real life, and we would play as Dragon Ball characters and dicking around, yes. No, it was a thing. We, even my other brothers who are, another, 4 years younger, they still know what Dragon Ball is.
Yeah.
even though it was way past their... It was almost past our time to really know what it was, as far as the original manga run.
Yeah, oh, the original manga one, absolutely. Even the anime, when it concluded, we just got lucky it was on reruns all the time here in the States.
Yeah, well, and it took forever to come to the States and the US, too.
Yeah, that's also true.
Because GT Final Bout came out before Super Saiyan was even a thing,
Yeah.
and there was Super Saiyan 4 in the fucking game.
Yeah. But
oh my gosh, we need to do a localization podcast one day.
Yeah,
that's all, I'm sorry.
Maybe we'll do a more general anime podcast when we talk about that. But
yeah,
please continue.
Sorry, but yeah, no, anime back in the day was wild times, guys. Like, and I think because of Dragon Ball, it's not such wild times anymore. Like,
yeah,
you know, overall, anime is able to get made, and there might be like big gaps in between because they make the first season to see how it does.
Yeah,
but they don't have like a fuck ton of filler, like, just to fill the time. And we dealt with it back in the day.
We did.
We had whole separate series back in the day.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, literally Full Metal Alchemist, the original run, is technically all filler after, I think it's like episode like 10.
Like, I think when Majors dies. Like,
it's
that's
Hughes.
more or less...
It's Hughes, yeah.
Major,
when Hughes gets killed is when the storylines diverge.
Yeah, so anyway, like that...
Yeah.
Just... Like, yeah, back in the day... Like,
Naruto has over 100 episodes. Inuyasha, as we talked about, has like a ton of... It's like almost all filler.
You know, yeah.
We then have One Piece, which has 1,000 episodes in the anime series, and I would be willing to bet probably like close to 30 or 40% of that is filler.
Yeah. You know, even Dragon Ball, like...
Dragon Ball Z has quite a few filler episodes.
You know, that's why they brought out Kai back in the day.
Uh-huh.
It just cut out all the filler, was just the actual main content from the manga.
Yep. They made an abridged version, which we talked about in Team 4 Star, the episode on Team 4 Star.
You know.
Go watch that in the archives.
But just, yeah, Dragon Ball, I feel, helped shape us. It helped shape anime. And, like, anime pop culture, like, wouldn't be the same without Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball, and particularly Dragon Ball Z, ran so every other anime after it could fly.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe that. And, you know, I have absolutely pointed out some criticisms and some flaws, but that's what I do here. But again, you only really take the time to study and criticize something you love.
Yeah.
And I can say with 100% that Dragon Ball Z influenced me as a human being. It laid my foundation and interest in anime, which is tempered off a little bit, but I would never have watched other animated series or other Japanese interests if it wasn't for Dragon Ball Z. Mm-hmm. That is an absolute fact. I was introduced to Japanese culture through Dragon Ball Z.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So a lot of my interests, my likes, even my outlooks come from that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm just so happy it's still around. You know, here we are, I'm 32, and Dragon Ball has been a part of my life since I was like 6 years old. So for 26 years. Mm-hmm. And what else are you supposed to say other than, man, thank you, Toriyama. Thank you to Funimation. Thank you to everybody who brought Dragon Ball to the world. So I guess we'll wrap up there. But thank you all very much for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us again. My name is Shenzo the Lost. This is Shoshima 1016.
Yo.
We will be back again next week with a brand new episode. We'll hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Bye. Go check out Sandland. Yeah.